Hello and welcome to my first YouTube tutorial video on Alias SUB-D. This is going to be a series of videos that will be completely free to watch here on my YouTube channel. I was inspired by Adrian Biggins, or AB Design, who has been very outspoken about providing free Alias help. In this series of videos, we will be building a car exterior. My goal for this series is to show you how fast you can build a car in Alias SUB-D, and 2, show you how to build a car from a sketch. The reason for that is that most tutorials I've seen online show you how to build a car that already exists, which is a lot easier. But in this series, I will show you how to build a car from your own sketch really quickly. Before I start building a car, I first want to show how SubD works and some of the tools that are here on this shelf. So to start, this is a SubD object. SubD object comes with a set of vertices or CVs, which are these little circles, and each CV is connected to a hall. Now, if this is a SubD object in shader mode, so this is what it looks like. It's got soft edges, and if I were to go and turn on box mode, this box mode shows me what the actual shape of the box is according to where the CVs are. So if I were to move the CV, the box will change like that. And another thing I want to explain is SubD works by basically manipulating the CV. You can change the shape of the object by pushing and pulling the CVs, just like that, and that will change the shape of your object. Also, in order to change the sharpness of an edge, the way this SubD works is the closer the CVs are together, or CV halls, the sharper the edge becomes. So if I were to move this edge loop this way, then I will get a sharper edge because I'm creating more tension here by adding this loop here next to this one. And if I were to bring even more CVs, such as this one, if I were to bring in even more, then I can create even a sharper edge over here. Okay, so that is basically how SubD works. What I want to show next now is some of these tools that come in SubD. The first thing I want to show is this plane tool. This will just insert a plane in your window here, and it will come with a 2x2. That's what a 2x2 plane looks like. And then we have the box tool, which is what I had before. It comes in with the 1-1 box, and then so what I want to show, we have the donut tool, which is not really helpful unless you're creating maybe tires or stuff like that. And okay, what I want to show now is the other tools, but first I want to create another box just like that, and I'm going to go ahead and center this box. Once I centered it, what I want to show you here is how to use symmetry in Alias SUB-D so that we don't have to build both sides, and then we can just change and manipulate this side and have the other one change with it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my plane here, and then I'm going to pick this face, and then I will delete this face. And then I'm going to move these CVs right to the center, and now I will turn my symmetry on my alias layer here, and now we have symmetry. The problem with this is if we were to move this CV here like that or like that, we're creating a crease, so we don't have a curvature across center line. In order to fix that, what we have to do is insert an edge loop. So this is the edge loop tool, and I'm just going to click on this edge, and this will insert an edge loop. And what we have to do is keep this edge loop, wherever this CV is, or these set of CVs in this edge loop, they have to be identical position in XZ in this view, so that we can maintain symmetry across center line or curvature across center line. So now if we were to move this CV, we basically have curvature across center line. And these CVs then will never change. They can only change this way or this way, but they have to maintain their location in XY, and they have to be the same location as the center ones. Okay, so that's how we do symmetry. Now what I want to show is the extrude and the bridge tool. I'm going to go ahead and create a plane, and I'm going to move it off center. What I want to do is I'm going to copy this plane by picking object, and then I'm going to move it this way. What I can do here now, I can select edges like so, this one and this one, or let's just select one, and then I'm going to select another edge from this other side, and then I'm just going to hit the bridge tool, and the build button comes here, and then we're just going to build, or we hit space, and now we've built a bridge between this edge and this edge. And I can keep going, and I can do this, and I can bridge between these two edges as well. And I can pick multiple edges. I can pick this one, and this one, this one, and this one. They just have to be equal amount that you pick. And just like that. I can also pick all of these edges, 1, 2, 3, 4, and I have to pick the same amount, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I can bridge just like that. So we pretty much created a box. The other tool I want to show is I'm going to go ahead and create a plane again. I'm going to turn it on, and I'm going to move it this way. And what I want to show is the extrude tool. We can pick an edge, just like that, and then we're going to pick another edge, and then I'm going to hit this extrude tool. Now the extrude tool works with either faces or edges, but since I have edges selected, I'm just going to extrude just the edges, and I can set it to either global or normal, but since our global is the same as normal, I'm just going to do global, and then just like that I can slide here and determine how much I want to extrude. I can also go up and down with my extrude, but let's just do that. So that is extrude. The other thing I can do with extrude tool is I can extrude a face. So what I can do is I can pick a face, such as this one, and instead of picking edge, I'm going to pick a face, and I can now extrude this face just like that. Now we've extruded a face, and if I turn it to box mode, this is what it looks like. What I can also do is I can pick multiple faces at the same time. So I'm going to pick these two faces, and I can extrude both of these faces at the same time, just like that. And now I have an extruded face. Another tool I want to show, which is I've already shown, is the edge loop tool. This will allow you to insert a whole row of CVs perpendicular, which I think it comes in perpendicular by default, but if it's not, I usually use perpendicular. If yours is set on parallel, it's I would recommend using perpendicular. So now I'm going to do perpendicular, so I'm going to select this, and now I can insert a loop here, and I can either slide it this way or this way, depending on what my shape is doing. And now I have a box with 3 edge loops inside. Another tool I can use, which is similar to the edge loop, but instead of using an entire loop, you can just cut faces. So instead of just inserting a loop throughout the whole object, I can just go and cut just this face here and just here. And now I don't have to use the edge loop if I just wanted to insert it here. This is helpful if you are like you want to basically draw out a shape in your object. I'll show you that in a second. But you can also do it not just between one single edge. If I click here and I go here, it will insert it here too. As you can see, it just went down. And I'm using my snap tools just like I would in Alias NURBS. Just like that. Now, where this becomes really helpful is, let's say you have a shape, you're building an exterior, car exterior, and you have a shape like, oops, let me just put that back. You have a shape that would go like this, and then it would go like that, and then it would go like that. And then what you can do is you can pick these edges, just like that, and then I'm going to go ahead and show you the crease tool. I'm holding shift so I pick both. Interesting, that's not really working, but here we go. What I can do is I'm going to use this tool, which will crease those edges, and I'm going to go ahead and move these CVs upwards. And now I've created a shape just by cutting into my box. So that's where the cut tool becomes really helpful. And yeah, so yeah, I've shown you this crease tool. Now what you can do is you can pick an edge, you can crease it, or you can uncrease it. You create this washout effect just like that. Also, there is the weld and the weld and unweld tool. The weld tool lets you weld two edges without having to extrude or bridge. Let me just show you that really quickly. So let's say I have these two, if I delete these two faces, I can weld these two together, and I could say to midpoint or to target. To target, basically, it will go to the one that you picked the second time. So if I go here and I go to target, I'm going to pick this one first, and I will pick this one, and this will move there, and I can do the same thing here and go there. And then to unweld, you just have to pick by edge, and then you unweld, but it will stay in the same location. But as you can see, if I pick by object, now these are two different objects. Just like that. And then that is pretty much all the tool you need to know. These are our selection tools. We got edges, we got edge loop, and we got face and face loop. So face will let you pick a face. Face loop will let you pick basically a whole face loop, just like that. So this will pick a whole face loop. And that's pretty much some SubD basics, and we will cover a few more once we start building the car exterior. Now let's start with the car exterior. Like I said, we're going to be building an exterior from a sketch, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to use these two sketches. Now these are not my sketches, these belong to Gus, who's a good friend of mine. He was happy to lend me these sketches. And as you can see, these sketches are not based on like a view, like a orthographic side view or anything, just sketches. And from that, we're just going to create a model. Before I started this tutorial, I actually went ahead and created a proportion model just out of curves, just really simple, just few curves here and there. And this, I just used my knowledge in automotive design to determine what's a good proportion for this car. I referenced some of the like SUV coupes out there. So yeah, let's start. One of the hardest things about creating an exterior model in SubD is the start. It could be very intimidating, not knowing where to start. Could be in the body side or the front, but I'm going to make it very simple. It's a very simple formula that I've always used. What I'm going to start with is the box, and I'm going to scale it up a little bit, and I'm going to go into a box mode, and I'm going to turn on my box. I will hide the sketches now because don't need them yet. And I'm just going to move these CVs and keep them close to the edges of where my model stops, just like that. And then I'm gonna go into the front view. I'm gonna just do the same. Just like that. That should be about the width of the car. Then I'm gonna insert an edge loop. And I'm gonna hold. Now I'm gonna select these here, I'm gonna hold Alt and I'm gonna move them to the center. And now I'm gonna select these faces and then delete. I will also delete this face because this is the bottom. Not gonna be needing that. Okay. Now I'm gonna start cutting into the model. I'm gonna start adding edge loops. This is where the yellow starts. This is where it ends. This is for the tailgate. Then I'm going to add one for the shoulder. And this is going to be my curvature across center line loop. So basically this loop will stay the same as this one. And then I'm going to select these faces right here. And now I'm going to extrude. I'm going to extrude in this view. And this will be my DLO. Now, change it a little bit just to match with the silhouette of the car better. And this stage, it doesn't have to be accurate. We just want to block in the shape of the car just without any details. I'm going to go ahead and insert another loop here, and this is going to be to add a little bit of a roll for our body side. I'm going to select these CVs, and that's how I create a roll. And I can also tuck in the bottom a little bit. Then I'll go into the plan view, and then I'm going to change the shape of the plan view according to what my curves are doing. This one stays the same. I'll do the same thing for the rear. It looks like I just need to push it a little bit further out. Oops, I forgot I had these selected, so I'll adjust that. Okay, now I can go ahead and add a little bit more detail. Oops, I need to move these a little bit further back, and these ones could be moved this way. Okay, add a little bit more edge loops. I'm going to add one here, and now I will select this CV, and then I'm going to hold my middle mouse click and then click on this CVs, and this will select this row, and I can move that down to where my hood is and create a little bit more shape in the hood area. Okay. Another thing I can do is I can add another edge loop here. This is going to be where our DLO will start. And we can add another one right here in the middle and add a little bit more definition to the hood. We could lower this a bit to match our line. And then I can add another edge loop here, and this will be where our wheel well will start. We can add a little bit more definition here. The more we add edge loop, the more we get control of what the shape is doing. But it is a double-edged sword where too much CVs means too much control, and then you would have to move too many CVs. I'm going to go ahead and add another one here in the center. And now I can move these ones a little bit further back to match the shape better. And then I'm going to add another one here. And now I can move the CV a little bit further and create a more accurate shape. And just like I did here, this is going to be like the fender. I'm going to add another one here, right, to mirror what I'm doing here in the front, and I can move these CVs like that. Okay, I can also move these CVs now. To be a little bit more accurate. I can move this one up here, move this one up here. Okay, so that's in the side view. Now we can go and, oh, we forgot to delete these faces, so we don't need that. This is from our extrusion, and then we can delete that. We can turn on the symmetry of the layer, and we can see, we can shade it and see how our model looks so far. But we're not done with the basics yet. We can go into the front view, and then we can add a little bit more tumble home to the car. It looks like we have too much shoulder. We can edit that. And then maybe we can move this symmetry edge loop a little bit further inward, so we can add another one and add a little bit more control in our plan view. So I'm going to be moving these CVs and add a little bit more control, and the same thing in the back. I can also edit these ones over here. And this is going to be our windshield. Start the base of our windshield. Okay, now we can go into the front view, and we can edit this tumble home a little bit more and make it a little bit more accurate. Looks like we need a little bit more width, and let's shade it and look at our model. Okay. We can add a little bit more definition here. I can select these CVs over here, and we can raise these to match the shape there. Okay. It looks like I have created a mistake here, but I can fix it real quickly here. Okay. Now what I'm going to show you is how I create the wheel wells. I'm going to insert an edge loop here, and that will create a 2x2 phase here, and I'm just going to go ahead and delete these faces, and I will do the same thing in the back, and I'm going to delete that, and now we have wheel openings just like that. And using my curve reference, I can go ahead and match the shape of that to my curve reference. Just pushing and pulling and slowly building up my model. Like I said, it could be intimidating in the beginning, not knowing how to start, but this will give you a quick model, proportion model. You can even go back and just use that to sketch over if you're a designer. Just trying to be a little bit more accurate here with the wheel wall, since it's supposed to be circular. All right. So yeah, that is a quick proportion model. And now we can start adding a little bit more details. Okay, so what I need to do is create the fender flare. Okay, let me just adjust these CVs a little bit. Okay, and then the way I'm going to do that is I'm just going to pick by edge loop, and I'm just going to pick these ones here. And now I'm going to go into plan view, and I'm just going to push these out a little bit to create a little bit of flare. And then we can also pick these CVs, middle mouse click, and then these ones, middle mouse click, and then we can push these inside to create a little bit more Coke bottle shape in plan view. Then I can go back and do the same thing in the rear. Pick these edge loops here and go into the plan view. I'm using the X-Form tool because it's more accurate, and that should be give me a little bit more fender flare. Yeah, and then we can turn on our sketches and compare, see how it would look. Okay, now we can add more details. What we have here is a quick SubD proportion model. It's kind of like a blank canvas. But now we can start adding more details to it. So if I look at my sketches, it looks like I have some wheel flats. So I'm going to do that now. To do the wheel flats, I need to scale up this opening. So I'm going to select these CVs, and I'm going to go ahead and center pivot. Now my pivot is here. I can move my pivot a little bit further down towards where the center of the wheel is. And then I can scale non-proportionally sideways like this. And then I can scale up like that. And that will create a little bit of a scaled up wheel opening. And then I can do the same thing in the back. I can select these CVs right here and center pivot, moving my pivot towards the center of the wheel. And again, you can just eyeball that, it doesn't have to be accurate, and then scale sideways and then scale up. And then to scale up, you can move your pivot down so that it doesn't go further down. Just like that. And after I do that, I can pick these edges. I can pick this one here, and then I can go ahead and extrude. I'm going to hit extrude, and I can extrude using a normal to surface. So I can just go in like that, and then I can flip to side view and just kind of get it accurate towards where my curves are. That should be good enough. And then I can select these edge loops here, and then I can crease them. And that should give us a quick wheel flat. Of course, we still have to adjust it a little bit. But now I'm going to do that in the back. Again, I'm going to select edges, just like that. And then I can extrude. My extrude is turned to normal. And then I can just extrude in like that. That should be accurate enough for now. And then I can select these edges and crease them. Again, looks like what I need to do now is pick these edges and move them a little bit further in, because when we extruded normal to the surface, they popped out a little bit. So I'm just going to move them in. Just like that. And just like that, we have wheel flats. Next thing I'm going to do is adding walls to the wheel openings. To do that, I'm going to select my front wheel opening, loop, and the rear one. I can do that at the same time. And I'm going to hit the extrude tool, and then I'm going to extrude globally. I'm going to flip it to the front view, help me see a little bit better. And now I can, while I'm still in the extrude tool, I can hit the move tool, and I can hit Alt and snap to grid. And I'm just going to pick a depth where it's kind of like there. And then I can pick this edge loop and this edge loop, and I can crease those edge loops. Okay, and the reason why I do the walls now is because now I want to close out some of these front and rear where the front splitter would go and the rear splitter. So what I'm going to do now is pick these edges, and I can use the extrude tool and extruding globally now. And I can just move it this way, somewhere like that. And now I can select this edge, and I can bridge in between. Okay, and then what I can do is select these edges, and then I can also extrude one more row, and then I'm going to move these CVs further inwards, just like that. And now I can just weld this edge with this edge. And now I've closed the bottom, and I can go ahead and now shade it, and it looks like that. Of course, I need to crease some of these edges, but it doesn't really matter if it doesn't look right, because we're not going to see that yet. And then I can go into the side view and look at my curves, and I can adjust a little bit, the front a little bit, just like that, to get a little bit more accurate. And that's kind of like doing the approach angle for the curb. Okay, I can select these CVs and move them a little bit backwards to get a more uniform shape here. So now that looks like that. And then now I'm going to do the same thing in the back. Again, picking these edges right here. And then I can extrude. And I could just snap the grid just like I did in the wheel wells, and then I can move them even further in. What I can also do, changing it from the way I did the front, is I can add an edge loop here, and then I can weld this one here and this one here, and then I can move these CVs inwards, and then weld this one here. Of course, these CVs need to move down a little bit. Whoops. And I can move these ones as well. I can move these one up. And what I can do actually is make this be this edge right here. That is probably a more accurate way of doing it. So let's do that. I can move these ones down. This one could go up. Just like that. And then I can go into the back view and do a little bit more adjusting. Of course, once we start getting the details, we can add more. Oh, it looks like I've selected a CV which went out of its way. No big deal, I can just push it back in place. Okay, so now we created the rear and front, the bottom surfaces. Now I'm going to continue adding more details. I'm going to add a little bit more definition for the DLO. So I'm going to insert an edge loop in the middle of the DLO. And now I'm going to go into the side view and I'm going to add a little bit more crown to the front windshield. And then I can adjust these CVs a little bit. And then I can go to the front view and add more crown this way. Obviously, since it's glass, glass always has curvature. So we're just going to add that. And I can also use the X-form tool to slide these CVs instead of just moving them up and down, just like that. So now we've created more crown that way. Then we can create more crown in the back too. Another thing I want to create is the A-pillar. So if we look at the sketch, it has some kind of a rail here for the A-pillar. So I'm going to go ahead and create that. So to do that, I'm just going to go into my box mode. And first I'm going to edit these CVs. Try and go a little bit more inward so I can get more of a convex shape. And then I'm going to edit the CV. And now I'm going to add an edge loop right here. This will be where the A-pillar is. And I can move these CVs a little bit further backwards. Same with this one. And same with this one. And I can take these ones and move these ones down. And out. Down and out. And that way this is going to be our rail. Obviously, plan view also has shape, so we're going to create some plan view shape here. In most cars, it tends to go narrow towards the rear, so we're just going to create that effect now. And we're just going to do that by moving these CVs, like so. And we can also move these ones as well. And we can use the X-form tool to slide them. And I'm going to move these ones until we have something along the lines of something like that. Okay, you can move the CV. If you see something that doesn't look right, just adjust it, which is sort of what I'm doing here. I'm going to move this down, and obviously it does have a little bit of a spoiler, but we're going to create that later. We're just focusing on getting the A-pillar in. Okay. Alright. It doesn't look like it looks like a rail yet. So what we're going to do is we're going to adjust it a little bit more. And now with the cut tool, I can, well, I don't have to use the cut tool. I can use the rail to, the loop tool, edge loop, and I'm going to insert one here, and then I'm going to insert one over here. But as you can see, it inserted one all the way around, and same thing here, but I don't want that. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to use the cut tool. I'm just going to connect this corner to this corner, and now I can select by edge loop and delete this one and delete this one. And I've created now another loop that follows the shape of the rail. And again, here, we don't really need the rest of this, so it's unnecessary. I'm just going to delete this line, this edge, and I'm going to delete this entire loop as well. Okay. Same thing happened in the back. I don't really need to do that. So I'm just going to use the cut tool. I'm just going to snap to that CV, and I'm going to go here, and then I'm going to go here, just like that. Now if I zoom in here, we have something that looks like that, which is not quite what we need. I'm going to use the X-form tool, and I'm going to move that down, and now I can get rid of this edge loop right here. Whoops, don't need to select all that. First I'm going to delete the edge, then I can delete the loop, just like that. So now we've created kind of like a step. And now what we can do is pick these edges, and I can hit the middle mouse click and drag select, just like that. That's what the middle mouse click is for. And I can crease these edges, just like so. All right. And now I can also crease this one. Another thing I could do is now take these CDs, whoops, and drag select all the way to here, and now I can go into the front view and push them a little bit out. So this now created our rail, just like that. I can adjust them individually if I don't like what they're doing. I just want to organize a more organized row of CVs. These ones look like they're there's too much up positive draft, so I'm just going to move them down like so. This one I can adjust individually and just bring it up like that. So now we have something like that. I can also select the inner edge loop, that one, this one, and this one, and I can crease that, and that will create my glass, just like that. Obviously it's not ideal, but then we'll keep adding more detail to adjust that. Looking at the side view, seems like this could move down. Now ideally, if you're working in Automotive Studio, you won't use SubD for the side glass. You would use an actual engineering barrel. So it would be a nerd surface to create the side glass. But we're going to create this entire model out of SubD objects. I'm going to go ahead and move these to add a little bit more wedge into the plan view. add a fender, kind of the rear shoulder of the car. So yeah, if you look at some of the cars out there, the shoulder tends to go inboards as it goes towards the rear. So that's what I'm doing. So just adjusting that a little bit. And looking at my model, it looks like it's been punched in here, so I'm just going to adjust that a little bit more and get those a little bit more body there. Again, we'll probably end up adjusting all of that anyway, but for now I just want to show the method of how to create the rail and the roof. If I shade it, now it looks like that. Now that I've added more detail to the yellow, I can move on to the next part. If I look at my sketch, it looks like it has pretty decent fender haunches. So that's what I'm going to work on next. I want to try and get these fender haunches, and if you can see in the back too, they've got quite big ones. So I turn off the sketches, and I'm going to start with the front. I'm going to use this row of CV to be where my fender haunches go. So I'm going to go ahead and move them into place. Move them a little bit in to create a little bit more flare here. I can move these ones because they're too close to this edge and it's creating more tension. So I can use the X-form tool to move these ones a little bit further inboard. I can do the same thing to these ones as well. And then I can use, I can adjust this one. Now it looks like, if I shade the model, it looks like I have kind of a too soft of a shoulder. So what I want to do, I want to select these CVs and move these ones further down. This one can go up to create the fender haunch. Now, to create a more like a solid or like a more apparent fender haunch, we're going to need to add more edge loops, because like I mentioned earlier, the more edge loops we have, the more tension we can create. So just one here is not enough to give us that. So what I'm going to do is use the cut tool, and I'm just going to cut into my model. So I'm going to go in here, here, and then I can snap here, and I can snap here. And now I can raise these ones up a little bit. And if I shade my model, now I've created a little bit more tension for the that fender haunch. And it looks like I need to give it some plan view. So I'm going to flip it to the plan view, and I'm going to flip it to no shader to help me locate the CVs easier. And I'm going to give it a little bit more plan view shape for the fender haunches. Oops, that looks like it's too much. Just move these in, and move these in as well. So that gave us a little bit more definition for the front one. And I'm going to do the same thing in the back. But first I'm going to look at my sketch and just see what the back one is doing. And I'm going to turn it off, and I'm going to do the same thing here. looks like I need to go down here. So just gonna use the X form, help me manage these CVs better. And now I'm going to do the same thing that I did in the front. I'm just going to use the cut tool, and I can press and hold Alt Control to help me snap into my CV hulls, just like that. Okay. And then I can move these ones up a little bit, and I can adjust them in plan view. So it looks like I need to go way further in my DLO here. Looks like I've accidentally selected a CV from the wheel opening wall. It's no big deal. Okay. Looks like I need to add a little bit more taper here in the back. Yeah. And maybe move these rows of CVs inboard as well. Need to move. And then select these ones and move these ones. And looks like I'm getting closer to where my reference is. If you can't see your CVs and you don't want to accidentally select other CVs, you can change the view to help you select better. Okay, and that's the rear. Of course, we can still adjust it later when we're adding more detail to the model, but now we just want to get the basic picture here of the fender haunch. And now I think is a good time for me to explain that in SubD, most faces or these hulls and CV rows create a four-sided surface or a four-sided face. And that's how SubD works. It works better when each of these faces are created by four sides or four CVs. So if you look at this one is created 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we actually need to fix that, because when we shade it, we'll see Alias kind of creates this kind of a mathematical way, the way it calculates on how this should be, because Alias actually works kind of like how in NURBS, every surface is a four-sided surface. And that's what it is trying to do here. If you look at what it created here, each of these has four sides. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So in order to not get that, because it doesn't provide the cleanest surfacing, so to say, so we'll clean that and we'll just add a CV here and a CV here, and that will give us four sides. But obviously we don't want to create tension here. If we look at our sketch, we don't really have that. So this is another way we can create a washout effect without having to crease it. So as we go further towards the body, the center of the body, we can flare these CVs out. This one and this one, a little bit further out from where this one is. And then we can also push these one in to kind of create the washout effect, just like that. So now if you look at our fenders, there's more tension here, but not in the middle. So it's kind of washing out. But for now, it's kind of still like, doesn't look that great, but we can fix that later. And you can see here what it's doing, again, when there is more than four sides. So let's fix that again. In the back, we can create an edge loop here. and then we can connect that using the cut tool. And we can adjust these CVs as well to match what our shape's doing. And it's actually not bad, because I think in our sketch here there is a little bit of a line that will continue towards the back. So in the back we can keep it close and it will look like that. Okay, and then in the front we can do the same thing and add one here, and then using the cut tool we can connect. That looks like it's punched in, but we can fix that by adjusting the plan view a little bit. Okay, just like that. Now I want to add a little bit more detail to the hood of the car. If we look at the sketch, there's a little bit more undulation here. So the hood kind of goes lower than the fender. So I'm gonna work on that now. And if you also look, it kind of comes to a point here. The front fender ends before it reaches the front. So yeah, let's work on that. So what I want to do is I want to turn on box mode, and then I can just draw into my model using the cut tool. I can come here and I can delete this edge. I don't need that anymore, and I can just use this one and just kind of come to a point here. Now I can get rid of this edge loop. This one, don't need that anymore. So I'm just drawing in with my model. I can also get rid of these two edges, just like that. And I can go in like that if I wanted to. Actually, I'm going to keep that for now. Okay, and now I can connect this to this. I can delete this one. Don't need that. And I can use this. Move it a little bit inboard and move it down. And that will create that fender haunch. I can move this one down as well. And these center ones. We're going to lower the hood just like it does in the sketch. Okay, if we shade it, it looks kind of something like that. Obviously, we still need to add more detail, but I'm just showing you how to do that for now. Okay. Now I want to add more detail to the body side. So I'm going to turn on my sketches, and I'm going to look at this sketch here to see what the body side's doing. Okay, it looks like we have a big intake here, and it goes into the rear, and then we have a crease line here. So we're just going to do that now. Let's start with this crease line. That looks like it runs in the center of the car. So to do that, I'm going to turn off the sketch for now, and I'm going to go into box mode. I'm going to move these CVs a little bit this way, so that way I can have something to use the cut tool on. So I'm just going to go in here, and I'm going to cut like that. So if I look at the sketch, it goes something like that. Okay, and then it looks like it will have a kind of a well, first actually let's create a rocker, because most cars have that, so I'm just going to create that. Okay, and then I can go and create this intake now. It goes like something like that, and into our rocker, like so. Okay, so I can crease this line, this line, and this line. Okay, and now I can use these CVs to go push them inside. Okay, I also need to crease this curve, this edge and this edge. Oops, not cut, crease. This loop. Increase them. So we've so far created something like that, which isn't accurate yet, but we'll get to it. It looks like we need to add a little bit more like of a fast shape to it, and then also it has more tension here, so I'm just going to add an edge loop here. And I'm also going to add one here so that we can connect these two, just so that we don't end up with surfaces or faces that are not four-sided. So now if I look at it, it looks something like that. Alright, now I want to create this other feature in the front. So it goes this way and it goes that way. So I'm going to crease this one, this one, this one, and this one. I'm going to go ahead and crease that. And then I can uncrease these ones. Oops, I need to deselect first. And then uncrease. And it looks like we have something like that. And now I can create a little bit more of a fast shape, just like I did in the back. So I'm going to move these CVs like that. It looks like this line goes into this one, so let's move these ones inboard, just like so. And then to create the kind of a sharper edge over here, we're going to need to add a little bit more tension in here. So I'm just going to go in here and add more of a tension here, and I can connect these two together. But if I go into shader mode, it looks like we've kind of messed with the wheel fly here, so we're going to have to adjust a little bit. So let's leave that a four-sided surface as well. And now we can go here and then we can adjust this wheel flat again, since we've added more CVs. Just like so. Now I can adjust this one too. This can go up. Alright, so now we have something like that. I think we probably need to move all of that up more. Now looking at the sketch, looks like this could all move up. Okay. And then another thing I want to do is create the intake, so I'm just going to go something like that. And it looks like maybe it ends over here. So move this one this way. And then it can go inboard so. And then I can crease that. Whoops, don't need to select all of that. We have something like that. I'm going to create this line here. So instead of being horizontal with this one, it's more of a wedge here. So to do that, I'm just going to raise this one higher a little bit. And it looks like kind of comes down and touches over here. Like that. So yeah, just using the cut tool here to draw in my model. Don't need this edge. Don't need this one. And I don't need this one. And now I can kind of correct this using the cut tool and again get rid of this one. So now we have four-sided surface, four-sided surface. This one is three-sided, but that's okay. It still doesn't feel like the sketch yet because we need to add a little bit more tension here in this light catcher. So to do that, I'm just going to go into side view, box mode, and then again just cut into this and then maybe go like that. And now I can get rid of these and maybe I can just get rid of this one and this one, and I can connect this one to this one. Let's see what that gives me. Not quite what I wanted. Let's look at it first. No, that doesn't look right. Let's get rid of this one. And then we can move the CV up here. Oh, that explains it. We can move it out a little bit. And then maybe move this one out. Using the X-form tool to be a little bit more accurate. Let's get rid of this sided surface, four-sided or three-sided surface and make it four-sided. Now we have this one four-sided and this one as well. Just like that. All right, that's looking a little bit more like it. I also want to get this to be a little bit, have more of a radius instead of a point like that. So what I can do is bring this one over here and erase that, and then that will look like more like that. And we can continue that into here. Oops, I can move this point further in. And then we can make this also a four-sided surface. So just like that. All right. So now we have some side view detail. I think I'm gonna end this part 1 of this SubD tutorial here. We've pretty much blocked in the exterior. We've added a bit more detail to the DLO. We've added fender hunches, and now I showed you some of the methods on how to add some side view graphics using the cut tool. So yeah, tune in next time for the part 2, and hopefully we'll be adding more detail and finishing this model.